and you get the whole your backing and all the line and everything. And I know there's going to be some experienced folks who laugh at this, but when it's like, well, I don't know, do I need that? I mean, I never use my drag. And then they said you never caught a fish big enough then. So anyway, when you get more out west, it is something as far as letting the fish run. And then all you're doing is working angles. You're going against where they're going, and you're trying to keep everything tight. But it's completely different game from what I saw with the whole wingspan with the Tenkara rod. And the only thing that I did not mention on this awards call that I was on is that I've told some of you guys, I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people who's ever figured out how to not open them correctly, where all the line went one way. And yeah, so we spent about an hour and a half trying to feed that line back up through. So it, I'll get there. I'll learn it, but it's not my comfort level, and my wingspan's about 3.5 feet. So I watched John when we were at Bennett, and I'm going, how does he do that stretch? Yeah, pretty impressive. But we will get started now. Mick, you got everybody in?
I've got everyone in.
All right. So the Wally Wing, where is Walt? Is he on this call? I haven't heard any dynamite comments yet.
Where's Walt?
Where's Walt? He asked for this fly. So first off, I'll switch over my camera. And Roger, I did this for your version of a hopper with a wing, and mostly just, so there you go. That's as close as I'm gonna get with a hopper with the Wally Wing on there. So I did a stimulator and was able to add my wings in. I had my tail, I added foam in there, so there it's a hopper, and then just made it more on the stimulator package. But I thought, okay, I did it. I can say I did it. The Wally Wing, which I have a couple of big ones that I have up on my wall that is up in my office too. And this is a monster one, but I just was doing this more on profile. And so the Wally Wing, and some refer to as origami, or the one feather fly. There's a lot of different things you can do with that, but the classic is just how you've taken the mallard feather and then split it, and then it creates the wings on there. Am I doing okay on that? I don't have myself pinned on this, so I can't see when I look up.
Did you say origami?
Yeah, some refer to it as the origami fly because of the wings and how when you pull that down and how it creates it.
Oh.
So on your wingtip, because this is one feather that's just split in half, but I have a couple different ones.
Like Japanese paper folding.
Yeah, and it kind of is, because what you're doing on the technique. So this one is kind of the reverse and upside down. And so you can see again with where the wings are split and how they go forward.
Okay.
And then I've got the tail, it rides up. So this is going to hit, it's going to sit right in the film. The tail's going to help balance that on that end. The wings are here for me as far as spotting. It doesn't have anything other than just tracking, because if it were just on that mute brown, it'd be harder to see. So the wings are all tied in exactly the same, but then the positioning and your thread wraps kind of create that different. This one's a really big exaggerated, and just so I could show you as far as the bend and going up. I'm not going to tie it in this reverse, mostly because it's completely upside down as you tie it, because you're tying in your feathers first. Jim has a great tip, and we'll come back to him as far as covering your tip point. We talked about Band-Aids over your tip point, because otherwise you bleed and you get lots of little fun things on your hands. But it is something where you're creating that curve. So this part that's flat is landing in the water, sits on top, it kind of rides high, and you're taking a full mouth take on this. So start it upstream, let it drift through, and you get the take on that. I love to tie these. I don't necessarily think this is the easiest fly to fish. And the reason is because if you're off on your wing measurement, and I'll show you a different one, but if you're off on that, your tippet size comes into play that you are wrong, and it will tell you that. And if you've ever taken it out where it's a squirrel's nest and you look and you go, what happened to my tippet? So you're fishing a 6X or 7X tippet, which is common for our area. And you pull it out, and it looks like that whole big squirrel's nest at the top, and you've got about a foot of that happening. It's because your wing length is too long. Plus, I mean, just a little bit more gentle on the cast. But this would be something, again, it's one feather. It's not all tied in together, but this is my mallard flank, again, with the mallard wings, and I added hackle to it, and then just dubbing. So the one thing too, and we talk about dubbing in different parts, dubbing is not the part that keeps it necessarily on top of the water. It's more the enhancement for the shape and the profile, and we talk about that hitting. So with the mallard, and mallard feathers are about as prevalent as marabou when you go. So you can shop at Cabela's, you get this great big, almost a pillow size bag of it. And this one, I think I paid $5 for. You can find others. This one was $1.50. So it is something where it's easy to find it at your fly shops. This one's more kind of a natural or a tan color. And I have everything all the way to a burnt orange. So this I will add in for other things. This is literally like a pillow's coming apart on here. Ziploc is great. Shove them back in there and zip it tied. But again, you can find burnt orange, you can find the olive greens, lots of different colors to play with on this. And one of the things as you start looking at different feathers, so Hobby Lobby is one, and you go in and they have their feather packs, and I usually talk about this, and you start going through. You don't want to be too nosy, and you can't really open up stuff, but as you look at these feathers, they are still mallard feathers. There's still things you can do with them on the tiny side, but you're going to have a whole lot of fluff to work through, like that one. So kind of meh, you get what you pay for on that. But again, you can find great big bags of it. This one, $3.90, and it is packed. It is absolutely packed. And as you look through on the packages, and whether or not you can open them or not, most, again, we've talked about different fly shops, and you're able to do that. But a couple different things that you're looking for is the curve on the spine. And the difference would be so if I pull out this feather, and you can see how it starts curving off. So I've still got some fluff on this area that I'm not able to really use for what I want to use it for on this particular fly. And it starts curving pretty drastically. So that's not going to lay the way. I'm going to fight that all the way through. And you can see how it kind of curves back around me. Here's another one that curves quite a bit. I can use these for others, but I actually sort which ones go to which. This one is just classic straight. And the area that I'm looking for is where the fluff is ended. So I want kind of this section, and that's it. I only need a centimeter. It's not a huge area of it, but I want to make sure that it doesn't have a kink or a break to it. And I've already started out this fly. And so I've added in tail. We've talked about that before in regards to, you can do a purchased mayfly tail. You can do the paintbrush as far as the options on that. And basically you could go with any natural material as long as it's well, I prefer natural on your paintbrushes, and you could add that in again for your tail section of it. You can go with more of the foam and the bodies. You can tie your own bodies and make that more extended tail, so it gives it more of that arch and goes up, and again for the way it sits on the water. So the first part, I'm going to grab this feather. I've already got my dubbing laid in a little bit to start that shape. So again, you're kind of going up towards the front, and you're giving it more of that thickness right at the thorax, and then we're going to thin that back out. But I've taken my mallard feather and I've separated out where the fluffy part is. So I've taken off these other ones, and you're just going to strip those off. And everything is a pull down motion. And again, you guys envy my fly shop because I can drop everything on the floor, and then I do a big shop vac once a week, maybe. So that's, but as you see things drop, that's because where it can go. So I've got this out now where I've separated it, and this is the part I'm going to work with. So I've got the quill section of it, or the stem, and then I'm going to pull through and I'm going to separate out a portion, and I'm keeping everything equal in what I want in regards to the portion of it. I'm going to lay this out, and I want about half of the length of my hook shank as far as my wing length on this. So I've got this, it creates that arrow. So I've got my up portion of it right here, come in underneath, and all I'm doing in this is pinching these two pieces together, and I'm giving it a little bit of memory. So a little bit of memory foam, right? Squish it in, and now I've got a V. And that's what I'm going for. So the V portion of that is going to be how I tie my fly. So I can come right in and right where my thread is stopped. So I'm about 3 eye lengths back, and I'm going to hold that in, coming over. I've got a positioning wrap. That means I can still move it around if I need to. If it rolled, the difference is I don't want to come over fast, because you see how that jumps. I'm going to come over, positioning wrap it. I'm going to snug it in, come back in, and then I'm going to pull this up in front. And we've talked about, as far as with parachutes and different things too, creating that thread dam. So I can go forward, I can come back. And because if it's dropping off a whole bunch, then just go forward a little bit, come back. And what I can do with that is come in almost at a 45-degree angle so that my wings are standing at a perpendicular. When I talked about this being the one feather fly, you can pull this straight back, and this can become your tail section of it. That's your one feather. You don't have to do much. You've already got your tail built in. Typically on this, I'll go in, kind of cut at an angle, clean that up. I'm going to jump to the back on this, and just to wrap that down. And on this part of it, and as you learn how to do these kind of wings, at this stage right now is where I would stop, and I would encourage you to pull these out, because you don't want to get all the way to the end of the fly. So you created the tail, you got the dubbing, and then you left it like this, and then you start to pull, and whether or not, if you didn't pull right, if it was a bad feather, whatever the case may be, it is something where you've got a bad wing. I would still encourage you to fish that fly, because that's sometimes what fish want, is just that one that has the weird looking wing, but it won't lay as nicely for you. So on this section of it, this is where I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to add some dubbing into it, and I'm going to create a little bit more flair to it, a little bit more buoyancy in holding that fly up, in regards to some hackle. And because you guys know I like hackle, so I'm coming in on my hackle piece. I've already set these out. And on this part of it, so the hackle has a curve to it. I'm going my curve towards the hook eye. I'm going to lay this in. I come in underneath the 45, underneath, grab it twice. I'm going to move it to the front. And these are always wraps with purpose. And mostly when I hold this feather out, it's almost at a perpendicular to me. Go back, you got that little clip or spring back here. You can hold it, keep it out of your way for a moment. And I'm going to come back in now and add my dubbing. And Bob, every time I did dubbing this week, for about the 200 flies I did, you were in my head, and I've gotten it correct. And only the first 3 or 4 times did it feel weird. I was correct. I was schooled last week, in case you guys missed that call. But literally, I pull it, and I've got my dubbing all teased out. It's just nice, no lumps, everything else.
Good.
Lay it in my hand, and I've got just a few threads coming up underneath. As Bob will tell you, going back towards your hook bend, coming in. Okay, and as you're going, I mean, you're almost trying to make your own yarn. It will go on, but I did do my little demo, Bob, just because I'm from the Show Me State, and it works just fine both ways. But
Whatever works.
Well, but it's something as far as technique, as far as teaching that, you know, and it makes sense, and it absolutely, it makes sense, and it worked. But yeah, I just had to test it. So I did a couple wraps there. I'm going to go in the front. And again, I'm working on profile. I want to be conscientious of how this fly is going to look as far as the tapered body, go up to the thorax and then back out to a nose. I've got my hackle now. And so that I'm just going to wrap to go behind. And you can do, you know, again, 3 or 4 or 5, just depends on kind of what you like. You can jump in front if you want to. And I'm going to on this one, jump in front twice, come around, and then I'm going to cinch that in place. So again, I come underneath my feather, grab it up, and I work that in because I want that as close as I can. And we've talked about hackle a little bit. Hackle gets very finicky, and sometimes it will jump on you. And so it is something where I'll roll in a 1/2 inch at this point. So I 1/2 inch it in, I roll it all the way up. I'll even do another one just because today's Monday. And then I'll come in and cut my hackle out. So it is something where, you know, kind of getting comfortable with that. Now I've got my fly all the way finished. I can come in and, you know, if you want to color, okay, my lighting, because I'm trying to do the video. So olive green doesn't work really well for me, but I am using olive tonight. You can't even see it against my backdrop. So I come in, I finish that off. Now, this is the part. So on this, and I'm going to kind of turn it. Did that do okay on the? So I've got my feather top here. What I'm going to come in and do is grab 4 or 5 of these. As I'm pulling down, and this was ideally you're over your fly and you're pulling straight down towards your hook shank as clean as you can. It's not a jerk. It's not a tug, anything else. You're just talking to it, going, yes, we will. Yes, we will. And you saw it there. So it separates. It's like peeling a banana. So you know already if you take one part of it and you tear it off fast, you've got the whole top of the banana hanging in your hand, and it doesn't work really well. Again, come back to the other side, and I'm pulling straight towards the hook shank, and you're absolutely able to pull a section of that away from the quill. Okay, so I've got these 2 wingy things going right there. And I've got this top quill section. I'm going to pull these back, and I'm going to pull that down. And it'll either separate, or you can come in and cut it nice and clean and then cut off these. I know some folks like those and they think they're really cool. Yeah, I'm not sure they've ever caught any fish with it. They don't work. They catch in your leader, and there you go on
that's
a
cool.
mayfly.
Oh, I like that.
So it is the hardest part of all of this is not getting past this. Okay, so it's all in the prep. It's just like everything else we do. We make sure our leader's clean, we make sure our line's clean, everything else. The prep on this, I've got a good straight line coming up on the stem, right? Come in, I grab this section, and whichever wing size you want to do, I've got that pulled back. So then I create my V. And I'm going to switch this one out real quick, and I'll show you one I've already, and just to show you how quick it is. John, can I switch to white thread? No, I'm kidding. All right, so I've got my thread on here, and again,
I've been converted, Amy. You can switch to white. I've gotten to where I like white thread too. So,
gosh, I can see it when we're doing these. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna you guys just saw that. All right, so I've got my white thread in there, and again, prep all the way around. So you've picked a good feather. This feather talked to you, you talked back to it. We're gonna do this, right? So you've got it separated out. I pulled off all the fluff, and then now I've got the V, and I'm going about half the length right there, where I'm ending. Again, 1, 2, 3. I would go at least 3 back, just because that'll give you a better lie when it goes in. So I've got my little point there, and I'm coming up underneath, and you're just pinching this, and you're just making it do what you want it to do.
You're off camera.
So you pinch.
There we go.
Sorry. So you just pinch Hang on, now I messed it up. So you just pinch in and you're making it go against the grain. And what you're also doing is loosening up the fibers on there. So when we get ready to pull, it's going to clean. It's just going to pull straight from the quill section of it. So I've got that V. Okay, can you see with that feather how
Yep.
it's a total V. So now I can come in and I'm going to grab all of it on top. Just hold it in. And you don't have to pull tight. You're just pulling it back towards.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause-
So you can go as tight as you want to on there. It doesn't matter if it has a little bit of a lump or not, but you can see it's nice and clean on there. Couple in front, kind of start a little bit of a thread dam. If you're going for a total, you know, and you want that more on a done style where it's laying front, you know, less of a dam in front. If you want it more, then you're going to create that more on your wing lie. So I'm going to come in, and again, I'm starting to get a ridge on my thread line. Just going to take my thread up to the front. I'm going to level that out a little bit, come back in, and you're almost at a 45-degree angle. I'm making that feather go straight up and down, just like your parachutes. So on this part, again, if I wanted this to continue through to my tail, then I have to cut off on my stem, right? Because I don't want that big bulky piece. But I could come through and wrap that, and that's going to become my tail now.
That's a lot
That's
of
where you
tail.
get the
Wow.
one feather fly. Okay. I don't need much dubbing. I could come in and add more dubbing. Come in here with, if I want hackle, if I don't want hackle, but you can finish this off right now. Again, you can jump in front. Either way, these will get torn up, and you're making them to get torn up. So a lot of times people will say with the wally wings, they're so fragile. Let it happen. I mean, that's cool. I'd rather have a fly getting eaten up. The other thing is that as I especially on the larger ones, I'll tie in all of this, and I might actually do my full whip finish behind this feather, because if it gets torn off, then my whole fly doesn't fall apart. Maybe only my wings coming out. So there are some different things that you can do as far as creating more durability to it. But again, on this, so I can whip finish it in, and it's done. You could color that with a marker if you wanted to, just because you guys laugh at me. All right, so now again, I have all this, it's all created. I'm going to come back in to the top, and I'm only going to pull, turn that one more time. I'm only going to pull a portion of this. Let's see if I can do it upside down almost. So I'm pulling that. Nope, see? So definitely straight over the top. Let's see if I can rescue that one out. Nope. Oh, there you go. If you have any part of a fingernail, you might be able to rescue it. But that would also be why you want to practice with these before you get all the way to the finished part of your fly. And so, oh, that one just totally destroyed. So we're done with that fly. Let me show you a different way. It's all about laughing at me tonight. All right. So the other thing is, like I said before, on starting these, so you get your thread in, especially for new starting this, because this is a cool fly. You'll be very happy with yourself once you finish it. I've taken my feather again, kind of came in, I knew where I wanted. I took off all the fluff on the bottom. It's out of my way. I've measured, so then I have the V started, and I would go as even as you can on these. And again, the whole thing is we want a good fly. Come in underneath, and you're going to pinch that, make your little sandwich basically, but you're starting your V. pinch it in. And so now I can start that. And start it all the way in. And so the first couple of these, just till you get the hang of it as well. Come in, get it in place. Cut it off at an angle so that it doesn't create that ramp when you come in and add the rest of it. Now come in and go ahead and split your wings to make sure that it's all going to work. So you haven't just created the whole fly and then at the end your fly tears. So now I've got this center part. I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to pull that out of the way here. Sometimes it'll break, sometimes not. Come on in, cut it short. Right in. Cut off your little wisps. Because in my experience, love the way it looks, but it's very, it won't fit in your head. So as far as wing placement, a lot of this is very similar. I want one that lays out more flat on the water. So I'm going to come in and kind of that button sew. I'm going to come in.
Oh, I see, like a spinner. All right.
Yep, I'm going to crisscross on there. And now all of a sudden I position the wings where I want them. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. If you want them more up, you know, towards the front, no dam in front. If you want them where they're laying back more a little bit without crushing them on these, this isn't the right one to do, you know, some of the more wet, but you want more an upright or forward on a 45. And for crisscrossing them, so I'm behind the feather. I come up over the front, gonna come around. I'm gonna go on that. So all I've done, if you know how to sew on a button, you know how to do this. And same thing. So you want to add a little bit more durability, crisscross.
Amy, I
And what
want to
you're doing
see,
is adding a little bit more thread.
I want to see you do that in the size 18
Go ahead.
fly now.
Oh, John,
No, I'm just kidding.
bring it on all
I think-
day long. Hang on, I got one here.
Did you tie one? I was just curious as to the size.
I can. It's kind of a waste of a really good feather, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, you can absolutely. And the thing
What
of
would
it
you
is,
use? What would you use for wings on a size 18?
I would do a trico.
Oh, a
I would
trico?
just go with, yeah, I would just go with your trico.
Okay, so just what do you call that
Just
stuff?
parapost.
Parapost, yeah. Okay.
And yeah, with this, I mean, you're kind of, I like flies that have a lot of different things that you do with that, but something smaller on this size, first off, you're going to lose so much in the whole origami and the wing. And when you're using, you know, this much of this entire feather, I'm pretty sure you could find some other things to do with that. But with the parapost, which we talked about before, Mick's talked about the binding cord and a couple others. For a trico like this, just come on in. So I'm bringing my thread around. I wrap around the top. Okay, a lot of people have different techniques on this, but I've got it anchored in, and then I'm going to come behind one, and I'm going to go in front of the other. And again, same with the button. You know, you're crisscrossing it over, and there's your trico. Whoop, sorry. I just knocked you guys all in the head, didn't I?
Cool.
And so, yeah, then you come up here, and there's your
Flip it
trico.
off, and there you go.
So I wouldn't.
Fast, easy,
I
and good.
Can do. Yeah.
Hey,
And then again, all you need on this is just straight up dubbing, and then add in your para. Because you don't need a tail to stabilize this. This is such a small fly. So you don't, in my opinion, I don't think you need anything. But just dub that up where it's a nice shape. And then just add in that. Again, it's the para. We've talked about this a couple times too. These are nearly impossible to track on the water. And so this would be really effective if you're doing a double dry. And so this is your trailing fly on there too. If not, as many times, if you think you have something on the rise, just set, because you're not going to be able to see this size on anything once you get tracking, especially in foam, which I like to fish, but it would be something where it's a fun fly. And here I have only a few that I've tied because I love them, and they're great for bluegill, except they swallow the whole thing. But you can do a double wing cross, and you can do a single wing. So it kind of gives you a different, whatever you're in the mood for. And I dropped 3 on the floor.
Oh, I like that. I like
That
that.
is
Biplane and
not-
monoplane.
I know. And it's just, it's just some different going back and forth. And I would say that on the Wally wing versions on this, and mayfly is, I have a great memory of that. That was probably the first bug I was ever aware of, other than ladybugs and ants, of course. But it was something where we have a hatch, and I remember walking in, and you guys have heard my dad was just an avid fly fisherman, and my dad stopped on the door frame because we had 2 or 3 mayflies on the door. And I remember learning that as a very young, and I think, well, obviously from a few stickers here for the Mayfly Project and Dunn Magazine and different things too. I think it is the most graceful, beautiful fly there is out there. As far as like a starter fly or something to fish, it's difficult. The wing will sometimes twist. It sometimes does other things on you. But it's a great one to have the knowledge on. And just try something, because fly tying is a beautiful art. And if nothing else, and just going, I did it. I tried something new. That's pretty much why I tie mayflies. I've had some success with them. I mean, as far as fishing wise, but there's a lot of others, and hands down caddis. And you guys have seen my yellow Sally. That's hands down caddis style wins all the time as far as catching fish. For making a day successful, caddis. So, but that was it for my presentation. Anybody have any questions, or you want to double dare me like John does, or Walt, did I do it okay?
Oh, I love the fly. I really love those wings. Very realistic. But I got a question though. You mentioned that some people criticize the wings because they're fragile. Is that true?
Correct. Yeah, you often hear there's just like a lot of other flies, and people say that because this fly with 2 trout, and because of the slime, the mouth, everything else, they do get beat. But that's actually a very effective way to catch fish, because they're not going after the prime top stock of bugs. They want the cripple one with one wing that's maybe bent. We've all had success with really beat up flies, and you think, oh, just one more cast, just one more fish. But these get torn up pretty darn quick.
Well,
it's good for about three fish with this pretty.
All right. What if you took some artist fixative or that other commercial stuff for fly fishing or fly tying and spray it? Now, what I would do, of course, was I'd cup underneath the fly or put the wings between my fingers and then spray it lightly, very lightly. And that would seem to give it a little more strength.
I think with some, and I've used again, we talk about nail polish a lot, but I've used Sally Hansen's on there because it doesn't weigh down in comparison to some of the UV. And so what happens is I actually get more buoyancy when I do my water test out of this, because it gives it that light lacquer over the top versus some of the different. And I have every brand here. There are some things, I think even that tint waterproofing spray might help some, but you're right. And then I always have to question as far as the smell or the odor that puts off.
True. Yeah.
So that would be the ups and the downs, I think, as far as trying different things. But you also have, with all of your other wing patterns, I mean, you can use the organza, you can use a lot of things that are much more durable than a feather wing. So you can try oh, where's my ugly, one ant that I did earlier, or my fly, but you can use your organza, that will hold up more. But again, anything toothy going after these, I mean, it could be even crappie in our area. They're going to get beat up after a while. And it is just something, just that's what you made it for,
Yeah.
is to get beat up.
Oh, yeah.
Amy,
Yes, sir.
with your wings and my mayfly that I kind of designed, is there any way to implement your wings onto that one? I'd like to see if we could do that.
So with your fly, well, and I'll do that on, let me switch out. So with your fly, the one I'm aware of anyway, when I've seen it. So you have your mallard, and
Now,
so I've tied this in, and the only part that I've seen is that you don't cut off the end part, right? Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. So, and what I did, because I saw that and I thought it was the most beautiful, just because it just looks graceful. But I'll show
Okay,
you
but-
how.
mine's going to be a little different. Okay, my hook, I don't know if they make them anymore. It's a TMC 109 something, and so it's kind of like a jig hook where it lays down into the water.
Yep. So you can use this on a curve. You can actually use a hopper, where, and the big thing is kind of that upturned eye.
Yeah.
And then you want that curve, shape of it. And so you're tying it hook end up, and then just with your, whatever materials you want to use for your tail on that portion of it. But you're right, this literally just sits. And so it just sits on the water. You've got your hackle, which is holding it up as well. So the dubbing isn't necessarily doing that. You can treat it with your gank or your watershed or anything. Your hackle's what's helping it sit on the top. And this is a full out of the water kind of bite. And then once they've cleared, kind of gone back down, that's when your hook set up. But you're right, it is similar to the jig style because of the downturned eye. And so I've got the downturned eye on this one, and with they do make that, and I've had there's Firehole, there's a couple different ones that you can find that have that really nice curve. These are traditional, just straight flat. I have Dairiki tonight, and I think I went ahead and grabbed a 10 or 14 or something large enough for this, but you can go smaller. And the curve that Walt's talking about is, it's a curve because it's belly down, and it does give it a completely different. The other thing that when I saw Walt make these, that was a couple years ago, Walt at Merrimack.
Yes.
So again, same thing as far as we've already dubbed in, we've already got it anchored in place, and you come in, you pinch, you make your V, and you just come back in. You're just going to grab all of that. So you're just pulling it back,
No, you got it
Yeah.
backwards, Amy.
cinch it in place. You want it the other way?
Yeah. Turn it around.
It just slipped on me, but let's see if that. All right. So then I come in and clear all this.
Oh, all right.
Then you go ahead and grab an equal amount on each side and pull it up forward.
You're going to pull it down towards your hook shank, right?
Right. Don't pull,
'Cause
don't break it off, Amy. Just pull it around. And you're gonna make a body and tie it off.
Oh, for like your one feather one.
Yes,
I was doing your wing already.
I don't have a wing on mine.
Well, the one I saw you did, because you left the little curlies on the end. Maybe you need to tie next week.
Okay. Well, okay. Fine. I would tie tonight, but I'm packed and ready to go to Atlanta. So I'll be down at my daughter's. I'll do one next week.
So, and same thing, and I think and the one time when I saw, so you've got your wing shapes and they're very much the same. So you can go either direction on this as far as I prefer for mine to go with this stem or the quill towards the hook bend. What Walt was just talking about, and he was talking about more of that one feather where you tie it all the way in, and then your tail end of your feathers are what create the up and create that portion of it. So where I did the V, let's see if I can redo that again. Now I got you. Now I'm down to my one pile that I said don't use, but so same thing. So a little crease. Again, you're just folding them dark to dark on this. It creates that really good V. And I swear you guys get me on here on Monday just to reteach me where my brain, between that and Bob's, my dubbing last week, but okay. All right, so I have my wing in. What Walt was telling me, where do I jump here? Because there's my wing, Walt. See, the other way when I did it before, when I go the other direction, that wing goes all the way towards the back.
Yeah.
So I think it's the camera reverse right now.
I'll tie one next Monday. Everything I have is packed up. For my.
So here, yeah, and here I can keep the tail. And there we go. I think it's just the opposite of how the camera, because see how I kept the tail on here?
Yeah.
So, and then you come back in and finish out your wing, which I've seen you where you leave the curly part on the end, which is cool.
You know, Amy, I really do think my initial method of catching trout, dynamite. This sucks, okay?
Have a good trip. Have a good trip, Walt.
Thank you.
So that's what you were saying. You were talking about the one feather. So I didn't use any dubbing or anything.
Right.
That's what I've seen you tie, Walt. Right? Where you left the little flags on the end, but you use the same feather all the way through. And it's basically one mallard flank, and that's it.
Right. I will tie it when we get down to Atlanta Monday night in a week.
There you go.
But that looks nice.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions or anything at all versus wings and
No, that was outstanding. I really, really like those wings. Really nice. Never tied that way before.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. Those are just amazing. I'm gonna have to play with some of that myself. That's
Well,
cool.
they look so realistic.
Yeah, they really do. And they're just pretty.
Yeah.
and it is just, it's a really graceful, and again, this has no hackle, this has nothing else to it. So this was one feather on a hook. And
Well,
I mean,
those would
that's
make nice earrings.
yeah, and that's, well, yeah, kind of.
My wife is a
that's
jewelry
kind of
maker. My wife
Just
makes
make sure
jewelry,
they're
so I think I'm gonna
barbless.
make some for her.
this is to me.
Wait. God damn it.
What?
Okay,
Hello?
well,
What happened?
Hello?
Hello.
No, my dog just knocked the screen off the back porch.
Oh,
Linda.
Oh my gosh. You didn't tell me you were on the
Well, you didn't.
doing.
All right,
Sorry.
you got that, Mick?
Well, Linda.
Don't say that.
But it's not letting me.
Didn't you see
The-
him?
Trying.
You would drop them off.
The reality.
Time to play,
Welcome
I
to-
have to drop them.
time to play fetch with a stick of dynamite.
There you go, Dave.
There
So,
we got it.
so got it.
So,
All right.
Amy, show them the fly,
Which fly?
the house fly. Well, the horse fly, house fly.
Oh, so well, and I'll show one more thing before this. So you guys were talking about as far as tail, and again, this is that one feather and what they refer to as the one feather fly. Sometimes this is what. So the other thing is, and again, I've talked about this as far as that top coat with the fingernail. So instead of doing a UV, I can just do this. I can run through it with my fingers. Gives a little bit of that rigid. Okay, and I'm not weighting it down, but I'm just getting it to go the direction I want it to. The other thing is if you have good fingernails, you can go on the back of your scissors or something too. But these feathers are so pliable that you can come in and just pinch and see how that straightened it out now.
You don't want to do the wings?
I don't want to do the wings. I don't care for that. You can, Bob, you test it and then you let me know how it works.
All right. I will.
But it is, I mean, it easily would because it's just such a light shellacky kind of, you could go over here. Now I've sealed up. And yeah, it's going to be more, you can see the difference on being able to, and it dries almost pretty instantly on that.
That's,
But it is something where it's well worth a try on just what you think works. And
really.
there's no harm, no foul,
Hmm.
But they really do. And again, the tail portion of it. So I've used everything from the paintbrush that I've shown you to this. The tail, be ready to cut and adjust, because if you have it too long and your cast is too hard or your
Yeah.
tippet size is different, and we don't need to get into all of that, it is going to just do this on your line. And that's not a very, very fun way to fish, because you pull it out and again, 7X tippet, and you've already lined up everything. Well, first off, this fly is too big for that. Go with something a little bit smaller, but 6X, I've had pretty good luck on this. 5 works great. But when you start getting to that 7X, go to a trico. So Lois sent me, she's on our call today. So she sends me videos and then she says, can you make this? And I said, yes, I can. So she sent me this one that was really cool of a housefly. And this one is, it's out of foam. This has nothing to do with what we were doing, except it was kind of a fun one. And I had to go back and watch. So this is the foam cylinder underneath. And then I just did a hackle. I did dubbing, twisted then with the peacock. And so it gave that beautiful, that purple greenish that flies do. And then I did a wing on here. The wing that's on the video that she sent me is plastic wrap. And so it's, we get into that where we can use different things too. So it's a really cool, this is a huge one. So we started calling this the horsefly, just because, but this thing will sit all day long and will not sink. So I was kind of happy with the design of it. It's not mine. I just pirated it, but it is kind of cool. And it's kind of a fun way to, again, mix in. Chris, you're on the call tonight, right? You still in here, Chris? You still there? I saw him earlier. Did he drop off?
He dropped off.
Ah, dang it. So this is the Chris fly for this week in the purple. And I'll have to send him a picture of this. Sun Tao was on and he did this in fast motion, which if you guys have ever watched him tie, and so you're like trying to remember it and everything else. And it's basically a foam popper, but it's a stimulator pattern, which is so classic for him with legs in. And I love this fly. Comes in, it has your natural material underneath, and then it has your deer hair in there, your legs. So again, totally classic for his style, but that was fun as well. And that's all I have. But if you guys, let's see, do you want to see? Nothing big. Nothing else here. Nothing else on the block. So I have nothing else. Let's see what questions or what you guys want to talk about for the next 7 minutes before it's my dinner time.
Some of your feathers are using a mallard flank, but some of the other puddle duck species, if you know duck hunters, you can get smaller feathers, teal. I don't know how well they would peel in that style because they are a little bit smaller, but they're very dark. Gadwalls, shovelers, widgeon, about any of your puddler ducks here, those flank feathers have those nice barred patterns to them, just like a mallard flank, pintail. So lots of things to do with duck feathers.
So Mr. DU, so when you shoot all of those, then you're going to send them to all of us as well?
I have more feathers than I'm going to use in a lifetime. So if anybody wants to play with feathers, let me know.
I'll give it a
Absolutely.
try.
Absolutely. And there's got to be duck hunters over there in St. Louis side of Missouri on that river.
We are. We are. Our duck season just sucks. It's always rainy.
That's duck hunting.
Yeah,
That's- I know.
we don't have any ducks here. We don't have any ducks in Nebraska. They're all on the Iowa side.
Yeah.
All right, all. Well, anybody else? Okay, so Jim, you're on the call tonight, Jim Stanley.
Yes,
You want to give
ma'am.
us our first aid and safety update?
Well, I sent you that picture, I think.
Yep.
And I, unfortunately, all my stuff is in the other room, but that was that silicone earring back. I didn't know if that was something that you had or not, but that was the one that when I was tying, especially I tied a lot of streamers, and that created a lot of blood loss. You know, and I have this thing about when I get cut, I really bleed a lot for some reason. But it gets messy and you get stuff on the flies. So my wife walked in one day and she says, geez, you know, you're bleeding all over stuff. And she went and got these silicone earring backers, and you can get them. I think Hobby Lobby had them. You can get a bag of these things. There's like 100 of them, and you know, they're cheap, and you just slip it over the point of the hook in the vise, and if you bump the point, you're just bumping silicone. So it's a real quick, easy, cheap fix. You've got one there?
I do.
Andy?
So I've got one, and what he's talking about is the earring back. This one's not a silicone one, but he's just talking about this.
Yeah.
What brought this up is Jim and I were laughing about the bleed stop, and so Les submitted his flies to the fly challenge, and they have blood on them. They didn't notice. They were supposed to look like that. But it was something, especially for folks who started out on bigger streamers and everything. And we have some hysterical videos because it is, you're going along and you're thinking you're fine, and you just get that one and it just impales. But the earring backs work great. I've only had one time where I could not get the earring back off of my fly. I definitely recommend the silicone ones as opposed to anything that will catch. And so, but they anchor in here, you can tie, it's a lot safer as far as you won't get nailed as many times. Can't say you won't, but it really does help. And also when you're going into articulated streamers, so you've got that other fly that's behind the hook and you're tying that in, that's what your spring is for in the back. And then also this is great. Jim and I got laughing because I've told him I've been known to go and cut all the erasers off of pencils so that I can have that.
Yeah.
Who knew? Who uses erasers? But anyway, the other thing is those little cheapy, the mechanical pencils that aren't really mechanical pencils, but they have them all in the end, and you can drop those out, and then you got a dozen to work with for a while. Your leftover scraps of foam. So it is something where, again, you can go in here and at least you protect yourself a little bit. All your little pieces, and we're hoarders in that. We save every little bit of every little feather, and you have no idea what you're going to use it for. Everything else can go away, but save the foam. Because again, this will save you from, and we talked about this before, but with the bleed stop, there's actually a Band-Aid that has bleed stop
Right.
in it. And it's well worth the investment. At least you can kind of keep tying, and you don't make all your flies look pink and red.
You know, I've
Less.
never cut myself
So-
on a fly hook, not wood, but I
Knock on
have tore up a lot of tying thread on the point, and that's a great
Oh.
idea to keep me from tearing up my thread.
Yep.
Another thing that
And it
works
really-
well. Another thing that works well is PVC covers for nails. They're just a little bigger than the nail, and you can slide them on.
Be a good one too. Yeah. Something, and you want to, as you're going through with your thread, you don't want something that's catching behind it all the time either. So anything that can have more of a smooth feel and not inhibit your thread spins, because you're trying to, tie this fly, not sit here until tomorrow of tying the fly. But there's all kinds of different things, and I would definitely encourage, don't maybe cut off the erasers. That's it serves its purpose, but it's not really the best way to go. We had talked about a couple weeks ago in regards to cleaning your bobbin, and this is the last. So I showed you guys my little toolkit, and a couple of you mechanic engineer folks knew what this was, and so cleaning out of the different types of, let's see if I can even get it open. Cleaning out. John Wright, you knew what this was right away. Or Jim Saraceno did. One of them.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is great to go in on your bobbins and clean your bobbins out from, especially if you're using anything with the wax and the GSPs. The other thing, again, look around, but there's always kind of fun things that you can find. And between using these to clean out the front of your bobbin, but they also work great for your dubbing. So if you're just trying to rough it up a little bit and you don't want to use anything as aggressive as this, maybe look at the dental floss sections.
The old, I don't know if you can still find them, but we used to use brushes like that for cleaning electric razors back in the day. I'm not sure if they're still around anymore, but of course I don't use an electric razor. I see Jim, you don't either.
No.
Hey, Amy, on your bobbin carrier, the one,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the dental tool that you had, the cap.
Yep.
If
Oh,
you
I'm sorry,
already
I'm
have maybe several, like I do, I guess sometimes, have several bobbin carriers that's already loaded, and you have maybe an inch or so of thread coming out, just put it right over top of it. There you go.
Yep.
It'll keep it from
Works perfectly.
becoming
So,
unspoken.
yep. And it fits on there snug. I mean, I actually have to
Nice.
kind of tug on it, but it is something. And, it's a great way to not have where it's not just a mess. And especially on the rubberized tips, you can see it got dark there. It's in place. But yeah, there's a lot of different, we're pretty bad then, aren't we? When we go into every store and you're like, I could use this for fly tying. But there's a lot of fun things to use. Look at how ancient this one is on my black one. This is not even connected anymore. This is one I inherited. Yeah, I love it too, because I don't have huge hands, but this fits in and I can just, it's like I'm tying a fly with my fingers. Love the size of it. I have other ones that I'm not as thrilled with. I mean, there's some that get too tight and there's some that they just don't make the cut from week to week. I just keep pushing them aside. But I think we'll talk about tools one of these times too.
Make your own.
So make my own. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a new drill. I could make a new one.
Yeah.
I have tools. I'd rather tie flies than I'll let you guys are all the engineers. You guys just send me your stuff to try. And then I'm good with that. Demos, I'll sit here and let you guys just tell me how to tie flies for an hour, and yeah, I'll just keep practicing. I'm good. I'm good without setup. All right, all. Well, another great week, and I think so. Lois and I have a few things up our sleeve, right, Lois? You're not gonna leave me out hanging to dry here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We're trying to. Yeah, you call me ma'am again.
That was on
But
purpose.
anyway, we are trying to get it. Okay, I know it was. So we're trying to get a few guest tires to also come on, and then also looking at, inviting a couple other areas to join on with us. Mainly, we have some groups who don't have nearly the group we have. I mean, the reliability of it and different things too. So we're kind of working on some plans. So I'm going to leave next week up in the air, because we have a gentleman who has promised to us, and we know him already from the St. Louis area, even though he wasn't with our group, and he is clear for the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to try to work on that. And we're pretty much going to kind of do a guest engagement for a while, and then also have some folks talking about different areas to go fish, which we've talked about before. In regards to Yellowstone, we've talked about Montana, we've talked about driftless, we've talked about Alaska, but we're kind of putting our heads together and working on some of that. So a little bit different format. And if you have any opinions, if you want to see something, shoot me an email, and we're happy to try to run that down. That's basically what we're wanting to do. And again, just try to mix it up a little bit. You guys have done a phenomenal job with all the different tires that we've been doing. And this is by no means going away on the virtual side. Mick, you want to turn the camera on you for a moment?
I think it is on me.
He's like, what? It is, well, now, I mean, like, pin you. So
Pin me.
I'm going to totally embarrass you. I'm going to put you on the spot here, and I'm going to totally embarrass you, because
All right.
everybody on this call would not be possible had Mick and Margie not done this for us. They purchased with the Zoom call so that we had unlimited minutes. We could have as many people as we wanted to on here, and it was the most compatible with a lot of ways people had to connect.
Oh,
Mick, a $200 gift card is coming to you from T.
Ooh.
Hargroves.
Holy smokes. You didn't have to do that. You guys already do way too much for me. So I really appreciate it though. So thank you, but not
You
necessarily.
won't get it before you go to Bennett, so good luck on that. But I do have a couple contacts down at Weaver's, but you'll get it when you get back from Bennett.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And again, we couldn't have done this without you. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, you can use that to buy yourself a nice Concaro rod with.
No. So, yeah, I was actually contacted by Weavers today down at Bennett, and they are back in town. They're having to run it. They need somebody to come run their fly shop and all that at Weavers. So we had a great conversation, Lucy, and I told her that we knew a few people that come and visit them every once in a while. So stop in and say hi to her. She's wanting to write an article. So anyway, Mick, I totally put you on the spot, and I know.
Oh, that's
you're just
fine.
like, "What?" But it is so greatly appreciated that I just can't even find words, because we needed this so much, and you did it. So great job.
We all needed it. I needed it too. So thank you for everything everyone's done for me. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Mick.
And
You
on
deserve
that,
it.
I'm going to eat.
Thank you.
And then we got to mark
And
this
on
down.
that,
and
I'm
Amy
going
was
to eat.
at a loss for words.
See you, Dave. No. And then I think, speaking of Dave, I think we were trying for May 22nd. Is that clear on your calendar for fishing wise?
I'll have to check, but I don't see, what day of the week is that?
Saturday?
Ooh,
Looking
Amy,
right
that's
now.
also the day
Or
of
is that
Bill
your golf
Campbell's,
day?
Amy, the 22nd is gonna be in Bill Campbell's marathon too.
Correct, that is.
Just an FYI for anybody.
really?
The next weekend. The next weekend is the holiday though.
Yeah.
Hey, Amy, can you
Yeah, we're trying to
forward
get
Bill
his work.
Campbell's marathon to Jim and I?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the link on that for it's the 22nd, but for some reason on mine, when I opened it, it said 7 PM and that would not
No,
be
4
correct.
o'clock
So
my
I'll check
time,
with-
so it'd be 4 o'clock in Louisiana, in St. Louis. They're gonna do, Bill's gonna talk about his fishing experiences in the Catskills, and he has a guest speaker that lives on the Delaware, and he's gonna talk about fishing the Delaware. So that should be an interesting 4 hours.
And he has 25 years experience with it, so
Yeah.
that should be a great one. But yeah, you're right. On the unless we did something earlier in the day for ours. But I'll definitely forward that out, and I'll just send it on the Zoom link so that you guys have the link for that. And then Dave, I'll get with you this week and see what fits your calendar
Okay.
then. Because I know you've got your golf days too.
Yeah.
But we are trying up a new lake that that Dave knows about, but he has yet to get us all there. But it's closer to Fabic, so it's down in that area. Should be good, and he's never been shut out, so I'll take that.
I was there last week
He's had luck.
and fished my 10 carat and caught 6 fish in about 2 hours.
So
That's because you were
there
using
you
the
go,
Tenkara.
John.
And I was the only
Yamaha?
one on the lake catching anything.
That's what I say. Hey, man, I rest my case.
Pack your car, John. Come on. Pack your
What day
pack
is
your
that?
car.
What day is that?
Well, we were gonna do the 22nd, and then I guess we could all meet up here and do the marathon. But
I got to
We'll-
record it.
we'll maybe. Yeah, well, maybe we'll figure out the calendar wise. Try to keep the golf dates clear and the vacation times clear and everything else on everybody's schedule. But our numbers are back. Well, they jumped up again, but they're going back down. So we're trying to set up something, get Chris out, Kat, Eleanor, and we've got 3 other new folks that just came on. So trying to get something lined up and then
Yeah,
get
we are too here in
get out in the
Omaha.
water. Yeah, you guys are doing okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any good
Trying.
recommendations for the Red River below the dam there? I'm hoping.
Oh gosh, yeah. Go to Lobo Landing. Look up Bo Sanders. He's I'll send you the information, Roger. But Little Red is amazing. And Lobo Landing is I'll have to give you the address on that. It's about an hour and a half out of Little Rock, but it's pristine and it's very, very fishable. He's a great guy, and he and his family run Lobo Landing. There's lodging there. I'm not sure as far as pulling your RV in, but Bo is awesome. So, and you will get some big trout, brown trout, but you'll get some big trout. It's
Yeah.
just this lazy river. You wouldn't even think anything's in there.
It's one
Don't
of the
take a Tenkara if you're going after big
possibilities
trout. Don't use your
Yeah.
10 if you're going after big trout, Roger.
Because we
Night,
want the
everybody.
video
Thank
of
you.
that. All
Thank
right,
you,
everybody,
Andy.
I'm gonna sign off too.
Have a good week, everyone. Stay healthy.
I know.
Thank you.
Will do.
Be careful, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Lois, did you tie your fly?
I did. I'll show it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
No, I'm playing with a bunch of other stuff. So I'll show it to you tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.